So this is kind of random. I guess not random for me because I do record these random ass thoughts at random ass times, and it's 1:18, just turned 19 a.m. Thursday. And it's random for me because it was just a thought that I had that I guess came back around, and I want to expand on that, especially with the Joe Rogan situation. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care as much as other people care, and I don't want to make it a big thing because everybody's making it a big thing and everybody has their hot take, and it is what it is. I'm not impressed. I don't care to the degree that others care, but I also don't think it's just something that it should be swept under the rug. I find it ironic that it is Aquarius season, the house, 11th house, the house of collectives, that this shit is falling out of the closet. I also find it ironic because it's Black History Month, as well as Joe Rogan has a wife, and that wife has a Black daughter or Black presenting daughter, because the biracial takeover is real. But the point is, she looked more like me than she looks more like Meghan Markle's kids. But that's not the point. The point is, Spotify decided to match the $100 million deal that they gave to Joe Rogan to have an exclusive podcast aired on their platform, the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify. They matched it to make, the media, particularly the liberal media, the hypocrisy with the shit libs, as well as, I guess, angry Blacks feel more heard and seen by donating $100 million to people of color. Now, Joe Rogan was out here saying nigger, 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 nigga, whatever. Being in Philadelphia is the home of the apes, Planet of the Apes or whatever.
He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door and there was no white people.
The nigger thing.
Yeah. Saying the word nigger.
You've already said nigger.
D is just like nigger. Saying nigger.
She's calling you a nigger. It's like this
boy that he's a nigger and starts calling them niggers. Word nigger. There should be a word like nigger, especially like the word nigger. That's our nigger. About niggers. He says nigger. Guy, a nigger. And then our niggers start saying nigger. Allowed to use the word nigger. Out the word nigger. See nigger. Word nigger. Say nigger and he couldn't say nigger. And most nigger.
And I find that ironic because if you take a primate, they look more Caucasian than they look Black. Okay? The darker fur is just that, the darker fur. It's not skin, it's just fur. I've seen a lot of men, especially Mediterranean men, come in very hairy forms, okay? So if we shave a gorilla, we shave a primate, that skinned underneath, that dark fur will look more Caucasian than it would look African, okay? And with the thin ass lips of apes, they aren't full and luscious like African lips. But we're not going to get into racist belief system because it's not the point. This is not a tit for tat recording. It's not to make white people rethink their racism. Like, look, I go to sleep and I wake up very well knowing that there are racist white people who are mad that I exist because I'm not going to stop existing because you're hurt. Get over it. My life does not revolve around what white people think. Please. And that's on Jacques Dessalines. But anyways, the point I'm recording this is because Spotify gave and donated $100 million to people of color. Not Black people, because Joe Rogan was out here saying nigger, 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 planets of the apes. But for some reason, Spotify thought that they can mitigate the situation by continuing having Joe Rogan on their platform, as well as donating $100 million to people of color. That's why I'm very hesitant to lump all others. Others would be gays, Blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, Muslims, disabled, and so on and so forth into one category. Not because others don't deserve to be seen or heard, but Just because you are a person who is a woman and another person is trans and another person is disabled and another person is this and a third, we may have similar experiences, but they're not bar for bar the same experience. Hell, every Black person does not have the same experience. Not every Black person knows each other. Obama cannot represent me for a multitude of reasons. And that's for a different topic for another day. But the point is, I find it funny how capitalism is able to use its money to bend the knee of the public or change public perception or persuade public perception. We know money in government influences government, and that's why they don't do the bidding of the people, they do the bidding of corporations, whether that means having wars or by proxy wars, whether that means funding political candidates that won't do shit for their states. Like Joe Manchin does not care for any West Virginian who is poor, will let their people literally starve because they don't give a damn because they're making so much money. They're multimillionaires. Ask Nancy Pelosi, Auntie Nancy, the Democratic House Speaker. She don't give a damn because she's too rich to give a damn. And my point is saying this is that Spotify makes so much money that their response to Joe Rogan is just give people of color, because again, Black people don't have our own exclusive experiences, our own exclusive pains, our own storyline. We are just others. We're just one blob of others. We're all the others who are not white, who are not rich, who are not heterosexual, and who are not men can be all in one category because we're just this massive thing. Then we're just this massive blob of others without any contextualizing, without any nuances. We're just this one other block, right? That's what capitalism sees us. This is why when it's Pride Month, all the rainbow flags, and then when Pride Month is over, no more rainbow flags. It's Black History Month, so you got to get like the neo-libs or the well-known Black celebrities to come out and be like, see, we're not racist. See, we collaborate with Black people because this random ass celebrity Black person somehow, some way speaks for the collective of Black people. Right, Jay-Z? Right. But anywho, the point I'm saying with this, besides the Joe Rogan situation, because that's an easy example, is to say this is no different with the police state. Not only do we live in a police state, and not only is this acceptable because of the politicians allowing the police state to be unhinged and racist. And I think a lot of these cops get their training and their understanding of what it means to be a cop with these video games like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. A lot of these people, especially men, play video games. They play hours on end video games, and a lot of them are shooter games. And unlike a video game, when you pull out your gun and you start blasting, you can't reset the game. You cannot redo the level. It's real life. You only have one chance to fucking kill somebody. You cannot hit the reset button. And I think a lot of these cops get their understanding of what it means to be a cop, especially if they don't live in these neighborhoods that they are patrolling. They already have inherent biases. They have no cultural sensitivity. They haven't done anything besides watch all types of racist movies, listen to racist podcasts like the Joe Rogan Experience and the Alex Jones and the Breitbart people and all that other shit, the right wingers. And then they play games like Call of Duty. They feel like it is their duty to shoot anything that is threatening. And because they build up this perception of Black people being othered, and they don't have any real experience with Black people outside of like their favorite rap artist or their racist ideology, they're already quote unquote threatened, even though they are zooted and booted. They have all types of weaponry. They have bulletproof vest. They come in as a gang because they don't ever enter a home solo dolo. They always have someone with them, but somehow, some way, they still feel threatened when all the power is in their hand. The power dynamics is not even for, let's say in this scenario, a Black person. but any person, because they will still come in pairs if it was a white person that they are entertaining. But in this case, they tend to be very hyper vigilant and very scary working in black neighborhoods. So why do they work and patrol black neighborhoods? But because the system is set up the way that it is, when they do kill, and they do kill, they get away with it. And there isn't any psychoanalyzing about these officers, the no-knock procedures, if that's even still valid. They don't do any criteria to really analyze if this person is suitable for the job. They're just looking to fill the role in. And oftentimes these men are rejects. They don't really have any real skills. They don't have that much of an education. They don't have any real world experiences. Like, they are the runts in their pack. They are the left behind. So to feel like they have some type of authority, to feel like they are accomplished, to feel as if they have some position in the world, they get into the police academy, they get into policing so they can feel as if they are on par with their peers that are actually doing something in the world, that they're actually successful. So they go into policing feeling as if it's their duty to be the good guy with the gun, when in reality, they're jaded, they're bitter, they are scary, and they're racist. So the system allows them to fill in an occupation, to fill in a position. And a lot of these police officers, they know they're going to get away with anything, whether that means sexually victimizing women and men and sex workers. Insert Daniel Hauskopf, whether that means shooting and killing innocent black people just for the sheer fuck of it. Insert the young man who was killed in Minnesota, not even George Floyd, but I think his name is Amir Locke, but so on and so forth. They know that they'll get away with it. And because the police state is over supplied with money, I mean, the New York police state, they have over $1 billion budget. They get more money to police, let's be honest, black neighborhoods than other countries have money for their own military. And that's just one state. And truth be told, it's really one city. If we're talking about that Manhattan, the 5 boroughs area. But outside of that, you don't really see polices like that. So these are people who don't live in a neighborhood, that have intrinsic inherent biases, and they are locked and loaded with a lot of money to be funded to them. So they know if they kill somebody, not only is that a badge of honor in their little racist cliques, their neo-Nazi cliques, they get to brag about it like George Zimmerman, but they also know that there is no real punishment for it. They most likely than not are not going to go to prison. And if they do, it will only be a slap on the wrist. And even if they do get fired, they'll be hired in some other police fraternity. They'll be hired by another state, another city. So what is the real punishment? What is the real atonement? What is the real change behavior? There is none. And then on top of that, just like Spotify, the police commissioner, the police fraternity can always shell out money to the victims or the family of the victims. And in some cases, the police state will turn around and be like, no, I don't want to give the money to the victims. I actually want to countersue and get the money back. That has happened in certain states where they had to legally give money to the families that they have killed. And then they turn around and said, oh no, we want to get the money back. We made a mistake in giving money, but not a mistake in killing the person's family member. This is America, y'all. So in this capitalist system where most Americans cannot afford a pop-up $400 expense, most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Even though money can never suffice for the life that was cut short by the police state, that it can never make up for the time never spent, the life that never lived. But because that's the way that we live in a capitalist system, you can't even afford to reject the payout because you actually need it. This is why when we see these murders, we have what's his name? Crump, who's always involved in these racist police brutality cases. Crumpet, I'll add his name in the editing phase too. He's always around. He's like the black ambulance chaser. He's like the black death porn. He's like the black grim keeper. Whenever there's some type of black death, here he comes trying to advocate. Here he comes trying to get his shine. Because he's like that black Al Sharpton of death. He's like that Al Sharpton of death. Instead of like discrimination lawsuits or like some white person dropping the N-word, he's there to collect like death. That's like his job. He's like the angel of death. And like a crow, like they can smell death. Like a vulture, they smell death. That is his job. He just is always there when there's some black brutality casualty. He's just always there, ready to defend whether he wins or not. And sometimes he doesn't win. He's just there collecting his clout and getting more designer suits. He's even been on TMZ because like this is his job. He is the angel of death. That's what he does for the police state. And I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes he has a deal with the police state. Quiet as it's kept. But anywho, because we live in a capitalist system, most families cannot afford to not say yes to the payout, even though it may feel as if you are jeopardizing your morality. It took us this long to get to this point, but here we are. This is what I mean by there is no morals in capitalism. Capitalism is so flippant and so misanthropic. They don't care for the human experience. They lack empathy. They can literally throw money at everything and anything. They can throw money at parents so they can sexually abuse kids, i.e. Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell Ghislaine or Ghislaine Maxwell, however the fuck you say that woman's name. They can throw money at politicians so they could be their perfect little puppets. They can throw money at foreign organizations, foreign governments to cause coups and coups and to exchange one government leader for the next so they can exploit the natural resources. They live like miniature gods and they are causing all types of destruction. And this is what I mean by capitalism has no morals. You don't want to take the check, but that check will put you in a better position. And to a degree, you have to bend to the sword because it's expensive to live and it's also expensive to die. The average funeral cost is like 10 grand. So even if you don't want to take the money, you at least got to take the money to bury your dead properly. Because most likely than not, you don't even have the money to bury your dead with a proper burial. And this is what I mean by capitalism being so inhumane, so morally bankrupt. Because they know whatever they do, they can just throw money at it. Even the death of someone. Someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's father, someone's cousin, someone's auntie, someone's niece, someone's nephew, someone's friend, someone's co-worker, someone's neighbor, someone's volunteer, someone's something. They can just throw money at it because you're no longer a valuable person. You are no longer someone with intrinsic value. You're no longer a human. You're an it. And it, capitalism, throws money at it, human. The robbing of the human essence. The ability to toy with people. The ability to have someone's whole future in your hands. And if they don't act accordingly, you can crush them. Look at how many people are trying to organize these Amazon workers, these Starbucks union workers. Soon as the corporate figureheads get a sniff at unionization, they fire people. In the middle of, yes, we're still going through a pandemic. Don't let it be got on you. We're still going through a pandemic. Omicron is still dangerous. Delta is still dangerous. The original COVID is still dangerous. Don't let that fly over your head. And if you try to assert yourself, assert your agency, assert your humanity, they fire you. They replace you because you're just another it. Amazon has 150% overturn rate, meaning by the time you start Amazon, don't put nothing in stone, don't put nothing in writing, don't make any big purchases because there's a good chance you're not going to be there to be able to pay off whatever the fuck you thought you was going to start the new chapter of your life.
Sorry. here.
Organize. I'll
Is there
organize.
anyone inside the room who did not understand what I shared?
No,
No, we understand, but we also know that you understand that if you make us leave the room, that's a charge against Amazon.
Is this a non-work area?
All right.
Is this a non-work area?
I think I said it 3 times already.
Can you answer my question, Felipe?
3 times. If you were not scheduled to be in the room for this particular meeting, I asked you to leave the room. I asked you. We decided.
Yeah, we're
we
staying.
decided
We're
to
staying.
not leave the room and be in support.
We're
So
staying.
I asked you.
Felipe,
3
we're
times.
organizing on our
Thank you.
non-work time,
This
non-work
is
area.
legally protected collective action by the law, you know that.
That's the general manager.
Yes, Felipe, we're protected under section 7A. We're protected under section 7A.
I asked
And
everyone
this is the
inside
same
the
reason
room.
why we're in this room, because Amazon does a lot of things just
I
like this
asked everyone
to
inside the room
against workers.
not
You
be
guys
here
are
if they
continuously
were not
breaking laws.
scheduled. This is what we're going to do. We are going to get this session started, right? We're going to get this session started. I very clearly told everyone who was not
Hey, sir.
scheduled to be here to leave the room, and you decided to stay.
We're currently
So we're going to get this session started. So you're right.
by the general
We will
manager,
discuss this.
and saying they will be in support if we don't leave.
Thank you.
We'll file more charges. Get ready for them.
Are we good? We're good.
We'll be respectful.
There are Amazon workers who've been working for Amazon for years that can only afford to sleep in their car in the Amazon parking lot because they cannot afford rent.
Holiday season, it's cold, and there's a whole lot of workers here that live in the parking lot that are homeless. That because we're in New York City, it's the one of the most expensive cities in the country. They're not making enough to even afford to live, so they're sleeping in their cars outside here, and it's not a small number. I wanted to ask you about that because, again, the PR that Amazon puts out there, you get all these commercials that are rainbows and sunshines, and they're helping people through school, and it's wonderful being an Amazon worker. Well, there's a lot of people that are homeless Amazon workers.
Right. At last count, there were about over 100 cars in this outside parking lot and the inside parking lot, the covered multi-layer lot behind me. And they're there 24/7, including on the holidays, like on Christmas and New Year's Day when there aren't that many people here. They're here 24/7. And I feel for them, I'm one of them. So, we try to advocate, and I'm trying to hook up people with other people so that we can do roommate situations and share expenses and stuff. But the reality is that in New York and New Jersey, basically any of the surrounding states, you have to make over $70,000 just to be able to afford a one-bedroom apartment. And so, you can't do it. You can't do it without working 2 or 3 jobs in New York or working a ton of overtime in here. You have to max out at 60. You can't go over 60 hours. So that also plays into the fact that hourly workers, mostly black and brown employees, do not get promoted. They just don't get promoted. They're not given interviews. Everybody in there in these buildings plays favorites. You have to be a young white male fresh out of college in order to get into a management position here. And it creates a huge us versus them situation in there because a lot of those kids are very spoiled, very racist, very sexist, and they're constantly targeting some of the best employees that Amazon has in there. So what they say and what they do are 2 different things. And as far as those training courses saying that they're going to pay 95% or whatever of vocational training or college fund, any of that, it's all a lie because I've actually met people in there that have gone through some of their courses for IT training and computers. And they said that, yeah, they were promised that 95% of their tuition would be paid. But then at the end of the class, 3, 4, 5 months later, guess what? They get a bill in the mail. It's on them to pay that money. Amazon does not come through. So Amazon's willing to play dirty, make empty promises, do and say whatever they need to do. We're still being bombarded with propaganda everywhere. It's covered every inch in that building. And it's ridiculous. You don't say that you respect the workers and that we're one big family and one big happy team, but then you treat us with such a lack of respect and dignity that it's sad. It's really sad.
And
That's why we're here. That's why we're out here.
Not to get too personal, you don't have to talk about it, but you said you're one of them. So you're currently homeless working at Amazon?
Currently am, yeah. I have been homeless for the past, 2.5, almost 3 years that I've been here now. and I haven't been able to afford a place. None of my family's out here. I noticed a lot of people on the East Coast, a lot of them have basements in their homes, so there isn't really much of a roommate situation unless you're going to a university out here or you're over 55 and you can afford senior discount rents at some type of senior apartment. Otherwise, a lot of people get married straight out of the home or they move into their folks' basement. A lot of the families are really tight here on the East Coast, so it's been really, really tough. I go on Craigslist every single day. I've already filed for renter's assistance a few months back in Jersey and in New York, still on a waiting list for low-income housing. And the fact that I can make $20 an hour and still be considered for low-income housing it's mind-boggling because the rest of the country is thinking, well, she's making more than minimum wage. How come she can't afford a place to live? Well, it's because there's no affordable rent out here, and we don't make enough, and we don't get promoted. I mean, I've been with the company since 2017. I have an AA degree. I've trained literally hundreds of people since I've been in Jersey and New York. And I've applied over a dozen times for positions at the next level, Tier 3. I can't even get an interview. That's ridiculous. And for me to have to work for people half my age and answer to people half my age who have no experience here and really are really disrespectful to the workers, it's beyond frustrating, really beyond frustrating.
And you're basically saying that even though somebody like you, a woman, believe a minority, correct me if I'm wrong, Latino, thank you, has all these qualifications, they will not promote you or make you a manager, and they just have this pipeline of basically spoiled white dudes that they bring in here as managers.
Right. That's pretty much it. And when I think about that, and I know plenty of other women in there and other minorities that they've also applied, and they have a lot of job experience behind them. You have to remember that half the people in here are young kids. It's their first job. But the other half of the people in here are people that literally lost their careers in the recession in 2007, 2008. So we're talking there's people in here in their late 40s, early 50s, and sometimes older that literally have so many qualifications to be an amazing manager. And they already know the job. They know the departments. They know the workers. They literally could run circles around these other new managers that are being brought in, and yet they're not even being given a chance. So how do we promote, how do we elevate inside the company and have any potential to have any kind of long-standing career here if we can't even make it from a Tier 1, which is the basic bottom level, to a Tier 3 level?
And also, like, just from a human being perspective, I can't imagine working like 10 to 12 hours being just like, they treat you like robots. Keep pumping out. We need your output to get better. We need your numbers to get better. We need it quicker. We need it quicker. Then pulling you into a meeting, union busting, all of this. And then, like, just from a human level, then, like, you don't even have the ability to, like, go to a place with with a wall and ceiling. You're, like, in your car. That's got to be incredibly depressing, honestly.
It is, but at the same time, being involved with the Amazon Labor Union gives me the motivation and the purpose I need. Knowing how these people are being treated every day, knowing what I've seen and heard and experienced since 2017 in Jersey, it's not just one particular place. It's a widespread issue, and it's basically about treating your workers with some dignity and respect.
I live in Massachusetts. Once upon a time ago, there was a thing called rent control. Then the big real estate companies, and I'm telling you, in Massachusetts, it's like the dope house in the 80s. On every corner, on every block, you can guarantee there's going to be a Dunkin' Donuts, and you can also guarantee there's going to be a real estate agency. And because these real estate agency was able to curtail and lobby and get into the pockets of the donations for these politicians of Massachusetts, they were able to throw away rent control. I remember growing up and having a lot of my peers having to move out of city and then eventually out of state because they could not afford to live here anymore. I remember when I was in college and I was working for a shitty ass real estate company, and they're all shitty, to be honest with you. I remember them posting apartments and saying 3 to 4 people can live in, let's say, a 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom. And they would say you could turn the living room into another bedroom because they were just trying to pile in college students into these raggedy ass lead paint apartments because they were trying to just make as much money as they possibly could. Because capitalism, the money's too good. The money is an addiction, just like fentanyl. There was a comedian, I think his name is like Tim Dillon, who was having some podcast discussion with Charlemagne's white right-hand man, Brilliant Idiots, Andrew Schultz. He said, in regards to capitalism, the sons are on fentanyl and the daughters are on OnlyFans because capitalism is so rancid.
Queen, let them eat cake.
Marie Antoinette.
It's let them eat cake, bro.
It's kind of that. And then...
they're struggling in Troy? Let them eat cake.
And then people get angry. And then it becomes a Capitol riot. It becomes Antifa. It becomes like violence on the street. And some of those are just rich kids LARPing. That's fine. But like what you see is it becomes opioid crisis. It becomes I'm in despair. I don't have a future. I don't believe my life is going to be good.
And it's so funny. Even the drugs that you see people using now, like ketamine,
they're
and
not
these
even fun,
bro. Because what are they? They're disassociation.
Yeah, they're get me
everything is get me out of here.
Get me out
everything is escape. It used to be like life is fun. I want it to be even more fun.
Right.
I want to have energy for the whole night, full of fun.
Right.
And now it's I don't even want to deal with this.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with fucking whatever white guilt. I don't want to deal with whatever these fucking things are. Ketamine, K-hole. I'm out. Don't talk to me.
I'm out. Yeah.
You even see some of these fucking rich kids doing heroin again.
They're right.
When we were younger, that was like so fucking taboo
because they also have no purpose.
Yeah, they're tapping out of this
because we've gotten rid of religion. We've gotten rid of you don't feel you don't have a community anymore. Everything's global. So you're on Instagram. Oh, I'm talking to somebody in Dubai. I'm talking to somebody here.
Yeah.
There's no communities that are local anymore. And electronic communities build a lot of things, but they're also very isolating.
Yeah.
And they also limit interaction to some degree. They make it a lot easier.
It's
but
why you have so many friends online.
Right.
Because you don't have to be with them all
That's
the time.
right. And then the reality is you have these things that we've never lived in this paradigm for a while. We're now seeing what it's like to fully live digital. Like what it feels like to have all our emotions tied to this thing in our hand. Yeah, Detroit as a city went bankrupt. You don't remember this? Yeah, I remember.
Where were you?
It was in high school.
Yeah, it was Kwame Kilpatrick, right?
Yeah, it was a pretty big story.
Yeah.
So,
but then Detroit been falling. RoboCop was Detroit.
Yeah,
that should been on fire since the 80s.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Do you see what I mean? When you let American cities just completely disintegrate, and there's 5 cities where everyone has Lamborghinis, and then the rest of them are on fire.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And what happens is your country begins to decline, whether you can see it or feel it, because you're a millionaire and all your friends are millionaires. But the reality is, if you go to these other places where people don't have jobs, you don't have health care, they're totally fucked. They don't see a way out. Their kids are on fentanyl. Their daughters on OnlyFans. This is part of now when those people
but industry
have
changes
jobs,
certain cities.
Okay,
man.
Sure.
This is American history. The industry is going to change cities. Is going to make certain cities more economically viable than others.
I understand that, but when you look at that working class, when they had jobs and could go on vacations, and they had money, and they weren't being completely replaced, and their jobs weren't being shipped overseas, you had a more robust country. You had a better feeling in the country.
Sections of the country. So those sections, Buffalo at one time, Rochester at one time were more robust.
Yeah, but don't you see that as a problem?
So is West Virginia.
But don't you think that's a problem?
No, I think that this just is the nature of changing an industry.
But that's where the arrogance that you're missing is going.
Miami is
it's hard to be arrogant when you live in a tent.
But if you can see the rise and fall of cities, how do you not see the rise and fall of countries?
That's what I mean. You don't think eventually this
if the rise and fall of cities is natural and that's evolution.
No, I understand what you're saying. I guess what I'm saying is it's not as if a new city isn't also going to pop up. So if Rochester and Buffalo falls, another place is probably going to pop up.
But it's bigger than just specific cities. These are entire industries. We have no manufacturing in the country, right?
This is a bigger problem.
We have no manufacturing. We don't make anything here.
Yeah.
Everything. So if you're an unskilled worker, you don't have any skills.
Yes.
You're competing against immigrants that come in all the time. You're competing against your other, neighbors and friends. and you're competing against people that live overseas that are willing to do the jobs for cheaper. So I'm just saying, listen, I'm not an economist, but I'm just saying, when you talk about arrogance and like where's the sense of American mojo and where did it go, a lot of it is like, motherfucker, you drive 20 minutes out of any city, you're driving to a third world country. And when you drive to a third world country, when you drive through parts of Cleveland and they look like Sarajevo, when they look like Bosnia,
Okay,
that's a problem.
This I agree.
It's an issue.
No, this I agree. I just thought you were saying
Slight
like
pushback, and I
one
don't think
specific city like crumbling doesn't mean another won't pop up, and that is something
For sure.
that's naturally going to happen in the course of a country.
Yeah, but when you just have these sacrifice zones, whatever it is, no go, like you have these areas where like, and they're popping up all over the place. Then you have tent cities.
Yep.
So you're like, you talk about the American, like you're driving around, you look, you go, oh, it's
you
tents everywhere.
Feel like the greatest country in the world if you're seeing extreme
It's
poverty
hard
right
to
out
see it
there.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's affecting people's.
That everybody's trying to do anything, even if it costs them their morality, just to pay bills, just to be above water and not behind the 8 ball. This is the society that we live in. Capitalism has us all sinning. Capitalism has no morality, and that's the harsh truth, and that's the worst aspect of capitalism. It robs us of our morality. Even when we have a righteous stance, even when we want to take a moral cause, because we live in capitalism, we really can't. How many people, especially on the left, are talking about we need organizations, we need leadership, we need to come together. But it's like, how can we do that but we still got rent? How can we do that but we still got children to take care of, and daycare is as much as rent? We're always thinking about getting the next dollar, getting the next coin. Cash rules everything around me. C.R.E.A.M, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. This is what we live in. So it's not that people don't want to take a stance, that people don't see the hardships that's going on, that people don't see that we need a revolution, we need a change. It's literally, I can't even afford to come up with a time, place, an organization, a flyer, because I got bills too. I got rent too. I got student loans too. I got consumer debt too. I got a mortgage too. I got bills. Because of all these ties to capitalism, I can't even plan my own freedom. I can't even plan my own liberation because I just ain't got the time for it, because all the spare time that I do have is to maintaining this pseudo reality of being afloat, when in actuality most Americans are barely making it by. Don't let Jen Psaki fool you. Most Americans ain't got kickboxing class money.
So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions, go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning, we got to keep fighting. And what that means, Lindsay, is we have to keep talking to members about federal legislation. That's essential. That's something that can be permanent, that can make sure people's rights are protected. But we also need to make sure people are educated in states across the country about what their rights are, how they can vote, when they can vote, how to request an absentee ballot. There's a lot we need to do on that front, and that's going to rely on the energy and the anger of that activism as well.
Most Americans ain't triggering off of margaritas, especially, again, I live in Massachusetts, everything is expensive. You go to the average bar and you ordering a margarita, you might be spending like $20 on it, including the tip. And I'm just going to be honest with you. And that drink might not even be strong or even worth it. I'm going to be honest with you. There's no place in the United States, in all 50 states, including Puerto Rico, including Hawaii, even though Puerto Rico is not a state, but you get my drift. You can afford anywhere making $7.25, which is the minimum wage, and being able to even afford a little raggedy ass studio apartment. Native Hawaiians, quick history lesson. Hawaii is under siege. Hawaii is not a part of the landmass that is the United States, but also Hawaii was its own country until, capitalism decided that they wanted to take over Hawaii because they wanted to exploit Hawaii. So Hawaii is technically part of the United States, but not really, because they're under siege too. They're under occupation too, just like the Israelis in Palestine. These Palestinians. Hawaiians are under siege too. Native Hawaiians can't even afford to live in Hawaii. Imagine that. Imagine that. But then again, on the continent of North America, which makes up the United States, not all of the United States, because you would have to factor in like Canada and Mexico, but like the United States, isn't that what's going on with the Native Americans? Aren't they under siege? Aren't they under occupation? Can they afford to live in the United States? Even with all the treaties, the United States didn't honor those treaties. So like, even natives, whether we're talking about Native Americans or Native Hawaiians, can't even afford to live in their own fucking country. Because capitalism said, fuck you. That's why. Even Native Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico are saying they can't afford to live in Puerto Rico. Because all the rich bastards who made it big in capitalism are pushing them out of their own fucking country. The rancidness of capitalism. People are selling themselves, selling their kids, selling their morals because they cannot keep up doing it the hard, honest way. There was a school teacher not too long ago told her class straight up, if you want to make it far in this life, you're either going to have to sell drugs, get into some type of illegal activity, or sell your ass.
I am so thankful to so many people that trust me with important information like this story. I have a source who is telling me that students in the 10th grade are being told by a particular teacher that the best they can do is sell their bodies if they don't succeed in their class. I'm also being told that the same teacher stated Hispanic men are not good for anything besides building things.
Coronavirus has done to our government. There's not going to be much left. But not submitting your work that we did in class is wrong, is lazy. And I don't know what to say anymore about this. Everyone should be here on the PLTW.
You said selling our bodies?
How else are you going to make money? Steal or sell your bodies? Be a whore. I don't know what else you're going to do. If you can't go to college, and you don't want to sit here and have a good work ethic, what else are you going to do? You're not going to be able to play sports because you don't have the grade point average to get into colleges. They're not going to let you play sports without the grade point average. There's not very many ways to make money.
And this happened on January 10th. So I'm reaching out to the school personally, and I need your help. I'll be tweeting this, and I'll also be sharing the story as much as possible.
Outrage over controversial comments believed to be said by a South Florida teacher. An audio recording circulating on TikTok creating classroom concerns.
Just one station hearing from the school about what the teacher said. 7's Maricela Burgos has this exclusive.
An audio recording is circulating on social media that has many questioning a teacher's lesson.
How else are you going to make money? Steal or sell your bodies? Be a whore.
This woman, who uses the handle Aunt Karen Zero, shared that audio. She claims the person speaking is a teacher at Mater Academy, Cutler Bay.
I have a source who is telling me that students in the 10th grade are being told by a particular teacher that the best they can do is sell their bodies if they don't succeed in their class.
She says the incident happened on January 10th.
But not submitting your work that we did in class is wrong, is lazy. And I don't know what to say anymore about this.
At one point, it sounds like a student speaks up.
You said selling our bodies?
Then that teacher responds with this.
How else are you going to make money? Steal or sell your bodies? Be a whore. I don't know what else you're going to do. If you can't go to college and you don't want to sit here and have a good work ethic, what else are you going to do?
The staff at Mater Academy confirmed to 7 News they know about the recording. The Florida Charter School Alliance sent a statement on their behalf. It reads in part, "This is an isolated incident. These comments do not reflect our school's values or track record of service. We are taking appropriate measures to address the situation. We apologize to the students and parents who may have been affected by this incident." In that audio, you also hear the unidentified teacher talking directly to those students with aspirations to play sports in college.
They're not going to let you play sports without the grade point average. There's not very many ways to make money.
Bringing it back to the comedian who said, late stage capitalism. You got the sons on fentanyl, highly addictive and highly fatal. And you got the daughters on OnlyFans. Because we still got bills, regardless of age, regardless. So I don't want to make this thing too long. I didn't think it was going to be 26 minutes worth of me ranting. But this is what I mean when I say capitalism has no morality. Oh, the Negroes are upset, so we're going to donate $100 million to people of color because, you know, Negroes are just this one blob with all the other blobs of others. They don't have any historical challenges. They don't have any historical separate issues. They don't have any differences of other